Tutorials on the Terrace.
All right, welcome to our third week of distance learning here, and we'll be moving ahead with our poetry research essay. So I do have 8 steps here to dominating the research essay. We've already done steps 1 and 2, which is to do some research and explore sources on our topic. So you have all done that. Step 2, also you've done constructing argument, and in English language arts, that is to write out a thesis. This week we will be doing steps 3 and 4, which is to map out the essay and to actually begin the writing process. We'll look at steps 5 and 6 and 7 the following week and before we submit it, which of course is step 8. So I looked at your work that you submitted last week, and one of them was to lay out your sources or to have a little works cited section. And most of you did that. I had a little bit of feedback for everyone. The first is do not use Wikipedia as a source, especially when you get to college. It is just kind of frowned upon. But if you go to the Wikipedia page and go all the way at the bottom, you'll see that they list out oftentimes pretty good sources. So that's where maybe you go to Poetry Foundation or some of the other sources I recommended last week. You'll see those down there. Also, make sure that you have at least one source from an academic journal. Most people did, but not everyone. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, see the video from last week. I talked about databases. I reviewed how to access the databases. That's where you can find some academic journal sources. This week, also spend some time reading through that academic journal article. You may have learned that if you only copy the URL and you try to go back to that academic journal article via the URL, it won't take you there. And that's because databases are kind of on this funky internet system where those URLs will change. That's why you want to have the works cited actually written down. That's the best way you can track down that article again. Something else I noticed, and you may have seen that I have uploaded the MLA citations handouts under materials in the Google Classroom. It is a handout I gave all of you during our Pride and Prejudice unit, but in case you don't have it anymore, it is now uploaded. The last page on it goes over for the correct works cited formats. Now, some of those may be a little more straightforward, how to cite it, how to have the correct format citation for a book, a magazine article, or even on a website. So definitely take a look at it if you're wondering about those. Something else it has is the academic journal article layout. And this is a little different. This is maybe something we are not as familiar with. And again, this is something that I saw a few issues with on your works cited section, and I may have commented on it on the Google Classroom assignment page. So for an academic journal article, what you do is you have your authors, usually last name, comma, first name, then the title of the article in quotation marks with a period, then the title of the journal, and that should be italicized. And this is what I saw a lot of people missing, this kind of middle section. If you try to just use EasyBib or some other some other engines, they probably would leave this out because they are not as effective as you would think. Again, there are ways, though, that you can just find it right there on the database. If you watch that video, it will explain it. But yes, you want the title of the journal. Then you want the volume issue, because again, journals often just maybe come out 4 times a year. So which volume issue is it? Then in parentheses, just the year. And then you have a colon, then the pages in the journal. So this is what's a little tricky too. Not the pages of the article. Maybe your article is 15 pages long, and page 7 of the article, you have a quote. But the problem is, even though it's page 7 of that article, within the volume of that journal, what page was it on? Maybe it was on page 42. So that's something that can get a little tricky. Not all of them will have it, but if you have the PDF copy of the journal, it will tell you the page numbers. And then the medium of publication. Did you access it with text, print, or via web? The URL is always optional, actually. I often don't put URLs on my works cited sections because it's just a safe space. So I have a little example down here of an academic journal source, Robertson, Alondra, and we have the article of the the title of the article, The Rage Within, the Voice of the Inner Batman in All of Us. Wow, that sounds great. Harvard Studies in Popular Fiction is the name of the journal, and it was volume issue 15.1. Came out in 1998, and it is pages 44 through 60 of that, and I accessed it the old-fashioned way via print. So that would be a correct citation. And in case you're wondering, yes, I made that source up. Sadly, it doesn't exist. I also gave you some feedback on your thesis statements. Many of them were quite solid, but I do want you to make sure that your thesis actually answers the prompt. Why is your poet an important and significant writer? Some people kind of just stated that the poet is important, or, this poet is considered, one of the greatest poets ever. Again, that's a great statement, but it doesn't answer the question, right? Why? What makes them so significant? Keep it focused on their writings and their poetry, even if they did some other amazing feats, like they joined an army or they finished an Ironman. Again, let's try to keep it more focused on their writings and poetry. So if you're having trouble with that, my advice is to try and find at least 2 reasons why they are a significant writer. Did they do something new with their writing? Were they innovative with their verse? Maybe they were the first one to use some type of literary technique, or at least to master it. We looked at that with Gerald Manley Hopkins with sprung verse. T.S. Eliot really used stream of consciousness, a lot of other funky new literary techniques. So you can think about that. Also, were they historically significant because of the topics they address in their poetry? Again, Margaret Atwood, right? She's kind of this feminist writer. That's kind of new. So just kind of consider that. Derek Walcott, again, he's kind of a significant, maybe because he tackled colonialism in his poetry, kind of from the point of view of those who were colonized. Or did they contribute to a unique literary movement? Probably a lot of those 19th century poets did. So take a look at that. Those could all be some reasons why your poet could be considered significant. So what we're also going to be doing this week is mapping out our essay. I have a little sample outline here. So you can follow this if you want. So yes, you do want to have a little intro, an intro paragraph with an appropriate opener, some context for the essay, and a clear thesis. Then maybe move into section 1 of your essay. Maybe this is 1 paragraph, maybe 2, but maybe just have a little background and biographical information. Again, if you're using sources from like Poetry Foundation, just make sure you're paraphrasing or using correct citations. Then section 2 and 3, maybe have your first argument. Explain why the poet is important. What was your first argument for that? Again, you want to make sure you're paraphrasing sources, using correct citations. Maybe section 3, you have a second, maybe third argument for why the poet is important. So I'll talk a lot more about sections 2 and 3, or kind of paraphrasing, next week. Don't worry about that. But for now, I do want us to kind of consider an outline. What could be an outline for your essay? So this brings us to the week 3 assignment. I have 2 items. One is I want you to complete your introduction paragraph. So that means having appropriate opener. Again, don't use the cliche openings I've told you all about throughout human history is the most overused opening for an essay. And I feel like every English class, avoid that. Avoid cliche quotes. Don't ask the reader a direct question. Again, you'll have to be a little bit more thoughtful. Again, that first sentence for an essay is always the hardest, in my opinion. Maybe set up a little bit of the context for the essay. What's going on here? What are you going to be doing? Then have a clear and improved thesis. So if you looked at the feedback I gave you, or if you wanted to update it, great. Proofread it. Proofread your intro paragraph, and also make sure to use formal voice. Do not say the words I or me or my. This is different for this essay compared to the last one. I want you to try to use a formal voice. With research essays, I always say you're not representing yourself. You are representing your thesis. The second item I want you to upload for the week 3 assignment is a detailed outline for the remainder of the essay. Make it clear what your overall argument is and what the specific purpose of each paragraph will be. And also where you plan on using each of your sources in the essay. So don't just have outline that says, paragraph 1, then paragraph 2. Actually say, what is that paragraph going to be addressing? Is this where you're using the academic journal source? Is it not? try to be a little bit more specific there. Again, both of these items are due this Friday, May 1st by 3:30 p.m. You can upload them to the assignment on Google Classroom. And as always, there will be WebEx office hours today. They are optional, but if you have any questions that you want to ask me, our office hours are from 2:30 to 3:30 today. Join me. Again, you can log on and get some help. So I hope you're all doing well and that you all feel good about this research paper.